All right, after that awkward silence, we are now going to reconvene the June 27, 2017 regularly scheduled board meeting for the Richland 2 Board of Trustees, where we just returned from executive session to discuss the items that were mentioned in the motion to go into executive session. We will now have our inspirational moment and Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Elkins-Johnson.
Yes, inspirational moment will be given by Robert Luke, who's here with his sweet daughter, Jaylee. Robert is a community leader, a Christian, a loving husband and father, and an advocate for education. He's been in Columbia for almost 2 years, and I met he and his wife when they first moved here, maybe about a week or so, and Robert just hit the ground running, just doing so many great things in the community. He's very visible, he's a positive leader and role model, and it gives me honor just to introduce Robert Luke.
There you go.
Okay, well, now we have a live volume. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Elkins and Richland 2 School Board for having me here today. I think the inspirational word that I would like to share with everyone is to believe in your heart the dreams that God gives you. I'm a living proof and example of that. As a young man, I've always desired to become a pilot and fly the F-16 fighter jet. And when I realized I had the opportunity by being accepted into Norwich University and being a major in the civil engineer program, I couldn't have been more excited. But when I had the challenges that were presented before me with the academics, moving into a new environment, being accountable for my independence and discipline, I greatly failed in that task because I didn't believe in the dream that was instilled in me. So as a result, I had to go back home, and I worked at the airport, and I looked as a person who loaded the luggage on the airplanes, a man still filled with the dream to pursue that avenue of flying. But I still couldn't grasp it or attain it, so I spent about 25 years trying to figure out how to finally get back into this realm. And then I guess God just got tired. He said, you know what, Robert, I'm going to open some doors for you. And he brought me back into a realm where I completed my 4-year degree and got accepted into Embry-Riddle in the master's degree program of aviation business. And while I was in that graduate program, I ran into my partner, Dean Cantus of Microjet Network, who gave me the opportunity of a lifetime to pursue what I love to do, which is be around airplanes 24/7. Now, was I behind the control of the yoke flying? No. But I was around it in a daily task of being an aircraft salesman, something that I knew could basically speak from my own mind and from my own natural gifts and talents and knowledge. And he put me in charge of establishing the commercial division. And I went from knowing absolutely no one in this field to speaking with CEOs of major legacy carriers, speaking with CEOs of new upstarts with the financial abilities to make themselves successful, and in the process of closing multiple deals on large commercial aircraft. And the only thing I could say about that was all because of him, first and foremost. But secondly, I realized, even through all of my trials and tribulations, I never gave up because in my heart laid that dream. It refused to go away, even in my darkest hour. I still got reminded of why I was here. So as educators, as supporters and developers of the community, I encourage all of you to make sure you listen to what's in your heart because it's not there by mistake, it's not there by accident, and it's not there by coincidence. It's there for a reason. Utilize that skill set because it's something you love, it's something that he's blessed you to be good at, but more importantly, you're an effective contributor in his ultimate plan. So with that being said, I would like everyone to stand as we pledge allegiance to the flag. Now repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. This is an incredible story. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yep, and we welcome your daughter as well. Hello. Yep. Just wave. There we go. Yeah. It's all right. Great job. Yeah. All right. Next, we will have our agenda, approval of the agenda. If I can have a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Plank. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Mackey. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote.
I'm in the affirmative. It didn't pop up for me.
And motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next, we have our consent agenda. If I can have a motion. So moved by Ms. Agostini. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Elkins Johnson. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote.
I got kicked out, but I'm voting in the affirmative again.
And motion passes 7-0. Thank you. We now have our first public participation. At this time, I have Miss Deanna Cates signed up. If you would please come forward. Thank you. And please remember that we are recording these for YouTube.
Great.
So they
Thank
will
you.
be posted to the web.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening,
Yes.
Dr. Ham, Dr. Davis, and the Honorable Chair, Mr. Manning, and members of the Richland School District 2 Board. We appreciate you allowing for us to come before you. My name is Deanna Cates, and Jamin Leslie and I represent a focus group of parents and students who have been working on forming a steel pans program at the Spring Valley High School. Behind us are some of those who support this program and support this endeavor. If you please stand. I hope you've had time to read the emails I sent yesterday summarizing the program and the progress that has been made to date. If not, I have a copy for you. Our purpose in meeting tonight is to inform the school board of the work that has been accomplished for an after-school steel pans ensemble at Spring Valley High School. As stated in the email, the desire for this program has been present for at least 5 years. We have come to this point and made much progress over the past years addressing all of the needs for this program other than that of space. Mr. Timoni has been very successful and very helpful in identifying the different aspects for a successful program, and each has been met. We have both parental and student interest and support. We have a teacher willing to instruct the students after school. We have committed funding to include the purchase of the pans, the teacher stipend, the music, and the sustainability of the program. The only missing piece is location of the actual pans at Spring Valley. Ms. Leslie and I have spent time with Dr. Ham as well as with Mr. Timoni and Dr. Davis in pursuing some type of shared space arrangement on the Spring Valley campus. And apparently this is very difficult. Both Mr. Timoni and Dr. Davis have been supporters of the program and have met with us on various occasions. However, the space issue still remains unresolved. Mr. Timoni has asked us to think outside the box, and the option of placing a portable came to light and was discussed. I have talked with Mr. Jack Carter about a portable as well. Mr. Timoni, however, is not keen on how the portable looks. However, no other space has been identified, and there's not been any other teachers willing to share their space for this after-school program. We come before the board tonight to let you know about the progress thus far. We feel that this is the type of collaboration between parents, students, and administrators that exemplifies both the mission and the vision statement of Spring Valley High School. It's unfortunate that space still remains an issue, and we feel as though one can be accomplished and can be found. We would ask that the board and the Spring Valley administrators explore and reconsider any option, including that of portable, for this program for the students at Spring Valley High School. We thank you for your time this evening and look forward to your thoughtful consideration and support of Steel Pans Ensemble at Spring Valley. I think this program certainly supports the impact inspirational speaker about following your dreams, and this is the dreams of the children, and we hope that we can finalize this one aspect.
Thank you very much. As you know, we don't respond for our public comments,
Okay.
but we do appreciate you sharing that
All
with
right.
us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, I have no one else signed up to speak, but if you'd like to do so, please come forward now. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for the public for being here tonight on a summer's night. I appreciate that. Next, we have our executive session items. If we can have our student appeals. Yes.
Like to make the following motion as it relates to the sole student, that they attend Blythewood Academy with Lorraine Act Services.
Okay, motion's been made by Mr. Shad. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Mackey. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote at this time.
Affirmative. I'm kicked out again. I'm gonna get back in.
And I don't know, did it pop up for me? I don't remember seeing it. I'm affirmative as well. Did it pop up for you?
Again.
Oh, it did? Yeah. Did everybody else get their, do you have everybody else, Tamika, or no? Okay. All right, motion passes 7-0. Next on our agenda, we have a report on the superintendent's evaluation. If I can have a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, are you referring to 7.3?
That would be correct.
Okay. I think that's for the superintendent-elect, so.
I have report on superintendent's evaluation on mine.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
changed.
The refreshment's been changed. 7.3 is superintendent-elect, and I'm happy to make a motion.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and do that. I'm sorry, I had it different on my,
It was, and
My
then when
board
you
docs.
refreshed it, when
Yeah.
you refreshed, the numbers changed.
okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize the board chair to execute an amendment to the superintendent-elect, Dr. Baron Davis's contract, which expands his automobile allowance to cover his travel within the Midlands area and provides the superintendent-elect, Dr. Davis, with an increase of $650 in his monthly automobile allowance effective July 1st, 2017.
Okay, motion's been made by Ms. Mackey. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Shad. Is there any discussion? And with no discussion, we'll have the vote at this time.
Is there discussion?
No discussion.
Oh.
I just don't have the pop-up.
Okay, can we just do a hand vote? I think we're having some difficulties. If we can hand vote on this one. Everybody in the affirmative, please raise your, yeah. Mine's acting funky too.
I don't have the pop-up yet. It's okay.
Yeah, okay. So motion passes 7-0. And there should be an item 7.4 on here for the superintendent's evaluation.
No, it's
It's
8.3.
8.2.
It's 8.3 now. Hit your refresh and see if the numbers.
I
are
did,
right.
and it's
Still like that?
it's not loading right, so I can't see it.
Oh, okay.
So it's 8.3 now?
8.2.
8.2.
This is
Oh, I
8.3.
see, okay.
Oh, you got it? Oh, it's up there, okay. You're good.
Sorry. Technical difficulties, I apologize.
good.
All right, so now 8.1, approval of board policies. Dr. Ham?
We're asking for approval of the policies that we presented to you at your last meeting. If you have any questions or comments, Dr. Michael and Franklin is available to answer questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just would like to, do you want me to discuss each one, each policy, BD, start with one, or
Just go
refer
ahead
to
and-
all of them?
Just to refer to all of them.
Okay. So on BD, I just want to make a couple clarification points, if I could. This will be the third paragraph on BD, talking about currently reads, "No officer may succeed him, herself in the same position more than once. Therefore, each officer will be eligible for only two successive terms in the same office, but may again be elected to any office after a break in service." The suggestion would be to change any office, or any, the word any, to the same. Because what we're referring to there is actually that same office. Then on policy BC, first paragraph, and Dr. Franklin, are you with me on that? Okay. On board member conduct, first paragraph, the first sentence is a bit challenging. It reads, currently, public office is a trust created by the confidence the public places the integrity of its public officers. It then goes on to say, to preserve this confidence, it is the desire of the board to operate under the highest ethical standards. I would suggest that we change that paragraph to read, in order to preserve the trust, confidence, and integrity the public has placed in its public officials, it is the desire of the board to operate under the highest ethical standards. So just for clarification on that sentence. And then finally, on that same policy, second page, third paragraph, this gets a little picky, but just the word promote, I believe, should be plural. So represent the board and district to the public in such a way that promotes both interest and support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Any other comments? I'd also like to point out, I think that there's a section, if I'm not mistaken, that we reverted back to the original language as it relates to irregular meetings. There was a lot of discussion about that at the last meeting. That's reverted back to the original language. And is that correct, Marshall Lynn? And so there will be no change in that from our original policy. I just wanted to make sure to point that out since we had some discussion last.
And that's, Mr. Chair, is that, you're still referring to policy BC?
That's correct. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's further down on that page in green. Okay. If there's no other recommendations, can I have a motion to approve the policies with the proposed changes from Mr. Plank?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Mackey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Agostini. Is there any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, we'll have the vote at this time. Do we need to do hand vote again?
I need to hand vote.
Can we just do?
I voted aye.
Can we just hand vote everybody and just make it consistent? All right. Motion passes 7-0. Okay. Next, we have report on the superintendent's evaluation. I think I got it in the right place now, right? Okay, thank you. If I can please have a motion.
Mr. Chair, after reviewing Dr. Ham's report on the district's progress and considering the board members' comments regarding Dr. Ham's performance, I move that we conclude as a board that Dr. Ham received an overall commendable evaluation for the 2016-2017 school year.
Motion's been made by Mr. Plank. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Caution Parker. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote at this time. Are you in now? Okay. And motion passes 7-0. And Debbie, since this is your last meeting, I'm going to kind of shower praise on you as we go along, if that's okay. So since this is an appropriate time, I want to recognize you. Dr. Ham just received a really amazing honor from the School Boards Association. She was recognized as the SCASA's Lifetime Achievement Award. And just to read a little bit about it, to be selected for the award, which recognizes the lifetime achievement of veteran administrators, Dr. Ham has shown an exemplary leadership as an educational administrator, a record of service and leadership as a member of SCASA and its affiliates, community service not directly related to the education profession, and service to the profession above and beyond. and Dr. Ham was publicly recognized at the SCASA meeting. For anybody who knows Dr. Ham, you know that those words definitely ring true. She is truly a public servant in every meaning of that term in her private life, both within the district and without. And you will be sorely missed, but I'm glad to see that you got this amazing award as you reach your retirement. It was well deserved. So congratulations, Dr. Ham, on that recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Mena.
Yeah. Instead of doing it all at once, I'm just going to say these things as we go along, okay?
Brace myself.
Yes, brace yourself. So, thank you, Dr. Ham, for your amazing public service that you've given to us. Next, we have the budget update. Dr. Miley.
I want to start with, want to make sure you understand, we're not asking you to do anything tonight. That's why I did not send this information out prior to the meeting. We're asking for no action, but I need to ask your patience while I try to explain what we've been dealing with for the last 2 to 3 weeks. Well, actually, for the last 3 months during the budget discussion and development. I came to you last board meeting on the 13th and told you that due to the changes in state funding, also with the increase in local funding that we got from the county, but also with the decline in funding from the state at the last minute, that we were going to have to revise the budget, and I was going to bring that budget to you tonight and ask you to approve that amended budget. It's going to be, we'll still need to do that. We're going to have to reduce the budget that you approved on May the 2nd and that the county council approved on June the 8th. The state funding sources have changed, and I mean changed dramatically in terms of what the legislature had told us originally and what we were told by the State Department. You've got 2 handouts. One of them is up on the screen right now. This is what we knew as of the 13th of June when we came to you last time. We had several significant changes in the budget allocation. We had a decrease, as I told you that night, we had a decrease in the base student cost of $10 that the Senate had added up to $24,835, and in the deliberation, in the conference committee, they reduced it by $10. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it was $311,000 to us. In addition, the State Department of Education had revised our weightings for academic assistance. This was a substantial change, and we got it that week, and it reduced our funding for EFA funds, our major funding source from the state, by $1.7 million. Okay. There's nothing that we do with those weightings. There's no calculation that we do. The State Department does that calculation and tells us what those funds are. Based on the information we had a month before that, our weightings were 5,300 weightings higher. And so in May, we thought we were going to have $1.7 million more dollars. And they adjusted that weighting that much in that last month. So that was $1.7 million that was reduced in our EFA fundings that we brought to you back in May. In the county council meetings, if you remember, we got the carry forward from last year's funding, which was about $1.4 million, and the state had increased the reimbursement on local taxes. That's for manufacturers reimbursement. So it was about $70,000. And we were also told that the state gave us what they're calling hold harmless funds. Remember, we've talked about the weightings for fast-growing districts in the state because because Act 388 underfunds us and does not keep pace, and there's a gap growing between what we could collect on owner-occupied homes and what the state reimburses us for under Act 388. That's a growing gap. It doesn't affect smaller, somewhat static districts, but in growing communities, especially bedroom communities like District 2, Lexington 1, Fort Mill, places like that, that gap between what they reimburse us for and what we don't collect from owner-occupied homes that are exempted continues to grow. Well, they threw $3 million at it this year. They sold some ETV. Thank you, ETV money. Yeah. Sold some property. They had about $3 million, and they gave that to the faster-growing districts. Unfortunately, it's one-time money, but it was $252,000. That's what we knew on the 13th when I came to you proposing that we'd be realigning the budget. We really didn't think that the net impact was going to cost us that much money. We also thought at that time that the state had funded the 2 percentage point increase in employer contributions a little bit differently than the conference committee had said, than the Senate had said. The Senate left us with us receiving all the funds to cover the increased employer contributions that were mandated by the pension law change. They changed that. The conference committee sent roughly $118 million to PEBA directly, and we get a credit for one of those percentage points, okay? We felt fairly comfortable. We still weren't sure how that was actually going to be done, but we felt like the funding was there, and we saw in black and white that we would be credited for roughly $1.8 million. They also said, the state said that we would be receiving other funds directly from the state for the other 1% increase in the employer contribution, which again is about $1.8 million. That was going to come to us in a line item for EFA, for fringe benefit funds that we get every year. The budgets that we bring to you every year, we have a line item that state funds us for our fringe benefits. It's about close to $40 million a year. Now, that doesn't cover all of our fringe benefits. Our fringe benefits are over $50 million a year. But it covers a lot of our fringe benefits, and we expected an increase in that line item to help us cover additional employer contributions. And I am long-winded tonight, but I think it's important for you to understand what we've been through and why I'm not bringing you a budget tonight and why we'll be bringing you an amended budget soon, as we feel like we have solved all the moving parts and hopefully the parts stop moving fairly soon. Then since the 13th, we've had some more changes. We've got the next slide. Again, we've got the same things that we knew at the 13th, but now if you look down below the hold harmless funds of $252,000, you'll see a decrease in state fringe benefits of $2.5 million. Okay. We see the contribution to PEBA of almost $1.8 million. And what hadn't made the news was not only are we are making a 2 percentage point increase to the employee contribution for pension funds, we also pay a surcharge, and they also increased that surcharge by 0.17%. Doesn't sound like a lot of money unless you're paying a couple of $100 million in salaries, and that resulted in about $286,000 increase in our employer contribution liability that we did not know back in June. So, if you can go. So what we're facing right now is an adjustment to our budget that we brought to you in May. We think that it's going to be roughly, it could be as much as $1.3 million reduction. Exactly how that's implemented will be left to the administration. But we know we're not going to be spending more. We're not going to have as much funds as we brought to you and that you approved back in May and that the county council approved. The next page I've got is to emphasize the reduction in funding. I'm sorry for all the numbers, but the one I want you to pay attention to the most is the EFA funds and the employer contributions, the first two lines on that table. We went back to 13-14, and we looked at the increase in those line items from the state to the district for some historical perspective. Okay, the increase in 14 to 15 in EFA was $4.4 million. The next year it was $3.3 million. The next year it was $5.8 million. This year the projected increase is $2.4 million. The lowest increase we've had since 13-14. Okay, now this is not during a time of recession at the state level. Okay, they increased the base student cost by $75, but we're receiving the lowest increase we've had in EFA funds since 13-14. The next line is more dramatic. In 13-14, we received $30.7 million in fringe benefits. That fringe benefit line I was telling you about from state funds. We increased from 14 to 15 about $1.5 million. The next year it was $2.1 million, $2.0 million. The next year, last year it was $2.8 million. The increase that we're receiving from the state this year is $500,000. okay? Now, that would be difficult in a normal budget year, but that $500,000 has to pay for not only our other fringe benefit cost increases, but it also has to pay for the new employer contribution of 1%, which we know is over $1.8 million. So our increase from the state of $500,000 is not only in paying for our normal increases, which we've had 1.5, 2.0, $2.7 million in the last 3 or 4 years, and this year we're getting $500,000. So we have some serious budget amendments to make and to amend this budget for you. What we're hoping, and I've talked to Senate Finance staffers today, they assured me that, oh no, the legislature didn't hang you out. You've got funds, they're coming. Well, so far we haven't identified any of those funds, and we don't think they're going to come. But we feel like we're going to try a little bit more, find out exactly, because there are people telling us that the state did fund us with that other 1%. Clearly, they haven't yet. And these were the final projections from the State Department of Education. So one of the things I felt bad about was having to come to you and tell you these changes over and over, and I know you think we don't know what we're doing, but it has been a very difficult year, and with these changes, especially these last-minute changes, and especially the magnitude of this last change, we are seeing some severe impacts on our budget, and we will be bringing you back with those amendments when we feel like, I don't want to bring you a change tonight and in 2 weeks find out, oh, well, I was kidding, and we really don't need to do that. So we feel like we'll start the fiscal year as conservative as we can and see if we can identify and see what the state actually did.
And Harry, I'm going to open up the floor for questions and comments, but for the public's sake, I did want to just mention, Harry talked about growth, and so when you look at the increase that we have in our budget, I don't want anybody to think that, we're saying, woe is us for a small increase when we have maybe a flat growth as far as staff. We're opening up an elementary school this year to accommodate growth. We've added special ed teachers to deal with federal mandates on the number of students and special ed. We've had to grow programs and staff in order to handle the growth of the district. So we're not a flat district where we're not, the needs aren't
in addition,
increasing.
we've grown between 300 to 400 students every year over this time period. In addition, underlying a lot of these things are state mandates.
Right.
Well, last year, if you remember, we had to give 4% raises to all teachers mandated by the legislature. So that was an $8 million increase to our budget that was mandated by the state. Likewise, we have other state increments in terms of mandates for teacher salaries, benefit increases, and things like that. So you're exactly right. We feel like, in fact, if you back out the employer contribution from this budget, we're looking at the leanest year we've had probably in about 5 years in terms of our budget increase, and we're opening up a new school, and we're growing by 300 new students each year. So we feel like we are been very prudent, but thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Ms. Mackey, you had a question?
Thank you, Dr. Miley, for the detailed analysis. It's helpful to know the steps that we've gone through to get to here. A couple of questions. One of them was with regard to speaking with Senate finance staffers. Do we know if there were any provisos in effect? I haven't followed provisos for education this year.
We're hoping. We're hoping. But we hope so, but we're not sure. The Senate seemed to think there was, but they should actually know.
Okay. Question. Also, if we do realize a $3 million shortfall, if that's the worst case scenario, would there be some conversations about how we would tweak our budget accordingly? Are those conversations that we would have right now?
As you know, we vetted the budget that we bring to you in the earlier times of the year, and we would do that again. Revisit every one of those priority items, because priorities don't change, but circumstances certainly have changed in terms of the dramatic reduction in funding.
In terms of priority, I look at the most recent line items that you've given us, and I'm assuming that the bottom would go first, that the line items that you've provided to us are in order from top priority to bottom, although they're all priority. I would assume that some of those lower tier items would start falling off if we had to realize the worst case scenario.
And I can't speak for Dr. Davis and Dr. Ham, but I think that.
Yeah, I'm not holding
that-
you to it,
yeah,
just speculating.
But certainly,
Certainly,
as we told you then, those were in priority order
certainly.
and
Okay,
would stay that way until.
okay. Thank you, Dr. Miley.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Dr. Miley, just as a point of clarification, you had mentioned earlier when you were talking about the 1% funding and the match, or what we expect to get from the state, you had mentioned or used $118 million in your phrase. Was that accurate?
Yes, the $118 million is what the legislature sent to PIBA. I may be off $1 million or $2 million, but I think it's 118. And that was directly straight to PIBA's for their contribution to their fund. Our understanding is that the same funding that they sent to districts was like $35 million. So clearly it doesn't work. You can't stretch 35 to the same degree as you stretched 118.
And so on this increase from under the fringe, the taking out the PIBA offset, right? What was that? Remind us the number that we had expected that increase to be.
We expected it to be about, it was around
2 point something, right?
2.4 or so.
Right.
We knew that we would be short. We knew that even in the best estimates from everything we had heard from the Senate version of the bill, we would still be roughly about $300,000 short from that contribution match. But we felt like we could absorb that. But now it's five times that.
So I guess my question is that's a $2 million difference, and we've been following this very closely and working with the South Carolina School Board Association. What, from your assessment, where was the miscalculation or the formula error in this case?
Well, as you saw, there's several factors, both the EFA, the reduction in the base student cost, and the employer contribution. The employer contribution and EFA are about equally the same impact to the budget. The EFA primarily was the achievement weighting. We still don't understand that. They promised us in March at our SCASBO meeting that the weightings would not be adjusted like they were last year. They were adjusted, and they were adjusted even to a greater extent than they were last year. So we still don't understand how they can tell us one thing in March and then do another thing in June, but they can. So in the employer contribution, I'm just thinking that they just didn't make it a big deal to let everybody know that they didn't fund us as they promised. And they just plain didn't allocate the money. But they said they did, and even had a Senate staffer tell me today that there's money there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, clearly, either there's a pot of money that no one knows about that we're supposed to get, or somebody's not telling the truth.
So what kind of timeline would you be thinking that this could play?
Probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
I would think if we don't know by then, if we don't hear anything positive in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to assume that there's no positive news.
Okay.
So here, can I ask, because with that time frame, the legislature's not coming back till January. How would we hear about that in the next couple of weeks?
Well, fortunately, when they leave town, the staffers actually get to work.
Right.
So we hope that will be done by the staff, both the old Budget and Control Board, State Department, and the Senate and the House staff.
Okay.
So
they're
that's-
sorting through the impacts now.
We're hoping. We're hoping.
Ms. Mack, did you have a question?
Yeah, just one more. Can we ask specifically, when you talk to Senate staffers, Senate Finance, about provisos?
I will be glad to.
I know they insert provisos at will, it seems, but I would be curious to know if there are any provisos that we're unaware of. Just out of curiosity, not to put you on the spot now, but I'd be curious
I'll be
about
glad to.
that.
I'll be glad to.
Thank you.
Board members, other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
thank you, Dr. Miley. I say that tongue in cheek for bringing us this news. It's very sobering news. And it's
I know
really-
there's no Lifetime Achievement Award for me tonight. I got that. Okay? I got that.
But we really do appreciate what you and the staff have done on behalf of our students and our teachers. But just, Mr. Chair, by way
Yes.
of comment, we're not in a recession. We're say that we want to attract the best and the brightest teachers, not only to South Carolina, but especially to our flagship district. We are the premier district.
Period.
And when we put that out there, there's an expectation that is created. And we must hold up our end of the bargain. We can't do that without having sufficient funding. I don't care about minimally adequate education. We are competing with the world at this point. And for us to promise these children that we're going to take care of them and promise these parents that we're going to take care of them when they are in our schoolhouse, we have to have that support financially. And I am deeply disappointed with what we have received from our state. And the impact may not be seen for 14, 15 years from now. And I hope that they are able to look in the mirror and be satisfied with what they've sent us thus far. But there's still time to make it right, so I'm hopeful. Thank you.
Well, and this isn't my call, but I know we have, over the last several years, started a greater aggressive outreach towards our county council members and to our legislators. And we will be preparing some talking points because I am convinced that, I hope there's no one sitting behind me, but I'm convinced that the majority of the legislators don't know what they passed, and they don't know they've done this to us. I really do not think that's the case.
That sounds familiar on the federal level as well.
That when I have heard over and over again that, yes, we've taken care of you, we've got that 1%, we sent one over to PIBA, you've got it, we've got state funds, you're covered, you're okay. I'm convinced that they may not all understand what happened at the last conference committee.
Yeah.
Well, there's strength in numbers, and we talked about this. We went through this process earlier this year. I would encourage us to have those talking points and get it out to the public, our parents, our teachers, so that they can contact their local legislators, because the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Thank you.
And I think, too, I do want to say, you know, we've had great feedback from our Richland County Legislative Delegation. We've had great feedback from our from majority of county council. Been very supportive. You know, unfortunately, some of these issues are outside of our Richland County borders, and where that support comes from. And Mr. Shad also mentioned the federal level. You know, some of this discussion about the health care, believe it or not, actually has school funding components to it. And some of the changes that were recently proposed would have a huge impact on our school district as far as the services we provide to some of our students that have special needs and other health care considerations, and the form of Medicaid cuts. So, you know, some of this stuff gets complex when you say legislators don't always know exactly what they've done. You know, when you pinch the balloon, there's something that happens on the other end, and sometimes it's not well understood. But unfortunately, it looks like on multiple fronts we could potentially be largely impacted.
Well, to that point, I'm glad you mentioned that. We, in FY 15-16, we got about $750,000 in Medicaid funds. In 14-15, it was about $600,000, and the prior year to that it was around $550,000. So we receive, that's a lot of money, especially when it's on the margin. $750,000 is a lot of money from Medicaid. So if those funds were severely cut, those are going to some services that really are critical, and so that's a lot of money.
That would cut into our general fund.
Correct.
Another $750,000.
We either don't provide the services, or we have to provide, as we've done in the past, when the state cuts at-risk funds, we have to come up with the general fund to make up for it because they're needed services, and that would be one of those where we wouldn't want to stop providing those services, and we'd have to pick it up in the general fund. So another hit to our budget.
Yeah, well, other questions or comments?
Sorry to be so long-winded tonight, but I felt like it was important for you to understand what we've seen and what we've gone through over the last month or so.
Dr. Mile, we appreciate you and your staff. We know it's not just you.
Yeah. You know who does all the work. Yes, I know.
We appreciate y'all following this closely and keeping us updated. And certainly Dr. Davis and Dr. Ham, as we get closer to this being a potential reality, understanding the actual cuts that will come out of this from what our proposed budget was, would certainly be helpful sooner than later, so we can start to understand the impacts to the budget that we approve, so.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry,
Yes.
just one more thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. If this is our reality, and we are expecting the new administration, of course, to operate under that, I just want the board to be mindful of those constraints and what the challenges will be from the administration to continue to be the premier school district, and just make sure we have some grace when we're monitoring the situation under this tough budget year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Dr. Miley. Next, Dr. Ham, we have new business action requested, approval, authorization for state, federal foundation, and other special funded programs. Dr. Ham.
Mr. Chairman, this is a routine request to allow the superintendent to apply for special funding to support programs during the 17-18 school year. And while it's a routine request to get that approval, I think particularly in the budget situation that was just described, it's very important.
Absolutely. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Plank. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Mackey. Do I have any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have the vote at this time. And motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, approval of the board meeting schedule for 2017-18. Dr. Ham.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've recommended a board meeting schedule that coincides with the policies of the school board, and we're asking for approval for that schedule for the upcoming school year.
All right, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion second, then we'll, so moved by Ms. Agostini. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Caution Parker. Is there any discussion?
Question. With regard to the schedule, are there any meetings or glaring irregularities from our previous calendars with regard to holidays or anything like that, or is it pretty standard? Is there anything that's outside the normal purview of our meetings?
It's pretty standard, and we carefully reviewed it. We hope we have not
Okay.
conflicted with any scheduled holidays.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And that includes not just Christian, but Jewish and
All the
other
holidays.
religious
Excellent. Okay,
holidays. Thank
good,
you.
thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments? All right, we'll have the vote at this time. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next, we have new business, no action requested, and I will not even begin to read that alphabet soup. Dr. Ham?
I'll read the alphabet soup, just
Okay.
for people who may not be able to see it or are listening to this when they hear it on our video. We're asking for approval, we're proposing policy revisions for IKE, which is a policy that deals with promotion and retention of students, policy BDD, the board superintendent relationships, policy BDF, advisory committees, policy BDF-R, which deals with school improvement councils, policy BDG, board attorney and legal services, and BDG-R, board attorney, legal services, and then finally, policy BDH, which deals with board consultants. And again, if you have any questions, Dr. Franklin is available to respond to them.
Board members, questions or comments?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a few questions. I would like to take a look at IKE retention, promotion and retention. Just want to make sure that I'm clear on the policy. Do parents have any input on whether their child is going to be retained in third grade, or is it strictly with the principal and the principal's committee?
And Mrs. Gregory may be the one to best answer
Okay.
that question.
I'm looking at the policy, and they talk about the notification of the parent and they're being included, but the ultimate determination will be principal, classroom teacher, and other school personnel that are working with the parent. But the parent does have input, and there is a protocol that is listed, and this is by legislation. This was comes from the Read to Succeed legislation and is copied verbatim from the law.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
BDFR, School Improvement Councils, it looks as if the only substantive change, what's not substantive, is just the title, is that right? On BDFR? It's proposed-
BDFR?
That's out, yeah, BDFR.
Right.
It's
All of that
describing
content,
the legal parameters of school improvement
all
councils.
of that content was in BDF,
Okay.
and so BDF was changed to just cover any advisory committee, and then BDFR specifically addresses SICs, but all the content is the same.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Board members, other questions or comments? Ms. Shad?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back to IKE, page 3, the appeal process. That first line, the district will have an appeals process in place for the parent or student to repeal retention. I think that should be appeal, I think. But that's my suggestion.
Top of page 3.
Okay.
And then, well, let me make sure Ms. Gregory has it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And then lastly, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just a suggestion with regard to to the next time we have this and any future ones, if we could have somewhere listed on these proposed revisions, the source of the revision. For example, Read to Succeed was state law, and so if we can have that on here in writing, or if it comes from the School Board Association, or if it comes from a member of the public, or it's just an internal suggestion
Right.
by the group, if we
To
could just have
understand.
that reference as to where it came from, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that would be
Agree.
helpful.
Agree.
And after tonight, some other Yahoo up here will have to make sure we get that done.
Yes,
so.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a joke on me, by the way, so. All right, other questions or comments? All right. Dr. Ham, Superintendent's End of the Year Report.
Happy to show you a video that we've produced that includes the back to school, the end of year report, but also I want to call your attention to some materials that I left at your places. There's one that's sort of a sheet that is going to go along with the report. You can see that it's up there, our bragging sheet. And then in addition to that, the district of choice, where every school is an excellent choice, is another piece that has not only the information from the bragging sheet, but some basic facts and figures. So this is a sheet that we can easily share with members of the public where you want to let them know what's going on in Richland too. So
You have a community school is impressive. This building is impressive. The innovations you do in education are impressive. But I would say this, that if I had my two daughters, this is the best way I can say it, that were school age, and I cringe thinking that, the oldest one's 36, and I was in this area, they would be here.
When Debbie got here, they were the second performing district in the Midlands. And with Debbie's leadership, I'm proud to say that this district is now the largest school district campaign in the Midlands. And I congratulate the leadership of Debbie and her staff.
I want to recognize that Joe Burke put that together, and we said this was the year to be the spark, and I think it was a pretty hot shot year.
Well, you have a comment? Board members, questions, comments?
I just want to thank you for that presentation. I was trying to do, as I typically do, an end-of-the-year review or recap for constituents in my area, and I appreciate putting this together. The visual is nice, but the bragging sheet particularly is helpful when you're letting people know highlights about District 2, and the synopsis of the year in a snapshot is very helpful. So I appreciate the people in the room who put that together. I know it wasn't just one person, so I appreciate the culmination of your efforts. Thank you.
Well, Libby and her team have done a great job.
I was looking at you. Thank you. Thank you.
Board members, other questions or comments? Dr. Ham, I just wanted to comment, I think what's impressive when you look at that is that's inclusive of all of our students. It doesn't matter whether it's students who are AP and, on that end, and especially students who are going to work. We saw the student who passed the CATE exam, the first one in the country. That software is used by Boeing, Porsche, others, and they were very impressed with our program. We're I think the only high school in the country to have the CATE software at the high school level, and the soft skills awards that our students received, and of course the Miss Chen, the only female in the world to score 100 on the AP Calculus BC exam, and one of only 11. So it doesn't matter where you are in our district. We help students be ready for the world, whatever's coming at them, whether it's military, straight to work, college, or anything in between. And that's something that all of us can be proud of. Community members, staff, board, and so I appreciate the work that's being done. Thank you, Dr. Ham. So
Appreciate your support that lets it happen.
absolutely. All right, next on our agenda is agenda items for July the 11th. Board members, or Dr. Ham rather.
Well, I'll tell you what. Dr. Davis is going to have an easy first meeting if this is what really comes up on the agenda. We have student expulsion, student appeals, student readmission requests, a facility report, and then we'll be asking for approval of the policies that you heard this evening.
Okay, board members, any other items you'd like to see on this or future agendas? I think you said B. I gotta tell you, Chris, his answer is always no. Always no the first time, and then you gotta work him over to get him to come around, so. But seriously, to me, thank you. Other board members, for real though, any other items you'd like to see on this or future agendas? All right, everybody's amenable tonight, so next on our agenda is our second public participation. We have no one signed up, but if you'd like to speak before the board, please do so now. Okay. And we now have board and superintendent comments. I'll start at my left and go to my right. Dr. Elkins Johnson.
Just want to say, I'm very excited to be here as we celebrate the summertime, which is still a hard working time for many of our faculty and staff. Want to thank Robert Luke, who's already walked out for the inspirational moment. Always want to thank the faculty and staff, and Dr. Ham, want to thank you for your services as superintendent, and we wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Agostini.
I want to start by recognizing and thanking the Steel Drums Group for their organization and their commitment to our students in our district. I see a lot of my friends have come in and left with your group, but I really appreciate you guys organizing and being committed to our students. And then finally, when we sat down for our advanced ed accreditation preparation, the board was asked to give one word to describe the district, and our chair, James Manning, gave the word family. Today, as we sit here with Dr. Ham's last board meeting, I feel like we're losing a mom. But as we lose a mom, I'm grateful that she's going to be around the district and volunteer as a grandmother to 2 very lucky elementary schools. Wishing you the best, and we'll see you around town.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mackey.
Just as I always say, thank you for the people who are in this room, the people around that table who make what we do happen. None of your jobs are taken for granted or marginalized or minimized. Appreciate you all for being here on a summer night at that. So bless you for what you do. And there have so many accomplishments to which we can laud people, but one of the biggest ones I want to publicly acknowledge, I've said it privately on numerous occasions, is the smooth executive transition between Dr. Ham as superintendent and our superintendent-elect, Dr. Baron Davis. I couldn't be more pleased at how smoothly that transition has gone. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Ham, of course, has worked hard, and Dr. Davis has been working laboriously behind the scenes and alongside her this year of transition. So you should be ready and able to lead at the next meeting, but don't take any of that for granted, and we appreciate all of the cogs in the wheel that made that happen. I appreciate it. Kudos to all of you.
Thank you. Mr. Plank.
Yeah, so as typically happens as we move down from left to right, many of the things I'll echo in that. You know, it is, to Mr. Shadd's point earlier about budgeting, for those of you who attend the meetings regularly know that I will regularly bring up that balance between needing to provide that excellence in school and teaching our kids, as well as balancing the good stewardship of the taxpayer dollar. Yet it is frustrating to work so hard in that regard, to come in and look at it seriously and to come in under a 5-year average, and it's challenging to then have that disappointingly come in underfunded by the state. So that is frustrating. Especially when you're taking a hard look at it like that. But I'm thankful for our CFO and his team who do a great job of being able to rebound from that, and Dr. Davis with the challenges that may come ahead from a budgeting standpoint. I feel confident that we'll work through it. And to Ms. Mackey mentioning the transition, it's been amazing to watch that. When we first decided to do that, you didn't know really how it was going to work, and that vision was cast, and it's been a neat transition to go from that. And as Vince Lombardi always talked about back to his Super Bowl winning team, when he said, we're going to try to pursue perfection, and we're going to relentlessly pursue perfection, but along the way, we hope we catch excellence, because perfection is really one person who's been perfect. So we celebrate the sheet here of all the accomplishments, but what's really cool about it is that we're not finished. We're moving forward, and we'll continue to see how we can be better than this last year. And so, Debbie, thank you so much for all you've done in the district. It's been neat to get to know you at a deeper level than just superintendent, and appreciate all you've done. And then to Dr. Davis, I just look forward to excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Caution Parker?
Thank you to everyone. It was a great meeting this evening. Debbie, you and I have worked together over 35 years. 35. We're the oldest ones in here. We've worked together over 35 years. And I just want to thank you for your years of service, for getting us through a very difficult time. It's been a very smooth transition. It's just been very great. And you will be missed. I'll miss all of you.
Thank you. Mr. Shad?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would echo what everyone has said, but I do want to make a personal point of privilege in thanking the citizens of Richland District 2 who honored Mrs. Agostini and I with joining this wonderful board. I commend the board with the foresight to select Dr. Davis and set up the arrangement where he can walk with Dr. Ham. I would say in the African American church, and it may be in other communities as well, when someone decides or when someone accepts the call from God, the pastor doesn't just go ahead and put them in place. They have them walk with the pastor for a period of time. Elisha walked with Elijah for a period of time and wanted to receive a double portion of what his mentor had. And so Dr. Ham has done a wonderful job in this district, and I commend the board for the process. I want to thank her for sharing herself with us for these 6 or 7 months, and I applaud her efforts. I'm happy and grateful that she is going to still be a part of this community. She'll be a full-time grandma now, and that means a lot. Because my mother also helps us with our girls, so that means a lot, I'm sure, to the parents. And I don't believe that your work is done. You're just moving into a different level. And we want to make sure we still continue to have that relationship with you, I guess more informally now. But as the torch is being passed, we also want to make sure that Dr. Davis has the support that he has. He's an excellent choice. We said this before. You all said this before when we were running for office, and I applaud y'all for doing that. And now you need to hit the ground running, Dr. Davis, and we have your back. And it's great to be in Richland District 2. This is a fine moment to be here. Let's just continue to support one another and always keep family first. Family first. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ham.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like to reserve my comments till the very end of the meeting, please.
Absolutely. I'm also going to reserve some of my comments to the end. Since I won't be board chair here and shortly, I do want to thank, I mentioned to the board before, but I do want to thank the board and others for all the support that I've had in the last 2 years as the board chair. We've had a tremendous number of things that have occurred over the last year, but I have to say that, real point of pride is how this last year has gone with Dr. Davis and Dr. Ham. Y'all have made this incredibly easy for us, and this is a difficult transition, no matter where you are to, Dr. Ham, you had to give some, Dr. Davis had to take on some more responsibility, and there are many districts where this may not have worked, but y'all made it work seamlessly. And that really has been fantastic for all of us and for the community to see the trust that you have, Dr. Ham and Dr. Davis as well. And Dr. Davis, looking to you, Dr. Ham, as a mentor in the time that y'all have been together. And so thank you so much for all of the work that y'all had to do to make that work. It's been very meaningful and again, a point of pride for me. And I had more comments, but it is family, and I'm emotional. So
Don't go emotional.
I won't go emotional on you. But now I think we need to go into our board officers. So at this time, I will give up my chairman responsibilities for you, Dr. Ham, to lead this part of the meeting.
Right. At this point in time, I'll hear any nominations for the chairman of the Board of Trustees for 2017-18.
You're talking to her, not
Oh,
me.
well, Dr. Ham, I'd like to nominate Mr. Plank for chairman for the Board of Trustees.
Hear the nomination for Mr. Plank. Any further nominations? Since there's only one nomination, we will do this by hand vote. If you please indicate your vote by raising your right hand. The vote is 7-0 for Mr. Plank. Congratulations, Mr. Plank.
Congratulations.
Now request nominations for the position of Vice President of the Board of Trustees for 2017-18.
Dr. Ham, I nominate Dr. Elkins Johnson for vice chair.
Dr. Elkins Johnson has been nominated as vice chair. Are there any further nominations? Hearing no further nominations, since there's only one nominee, again, it'll be a hand vote. If you'd please raise your right hand to vote for Dr. Elkins Johnson. The vote is 7-0. The next office is the Secretary of the Board of Trustees.
I nominate,
Go ahead.
I nominate Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker.
Dr. Caution Parker has been nominated. Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, if you'd like to vote for Dr. Caution Parker, please raise your right hand. Again, that is a 7-0 vote. Congratulations, new officers.
That's right. Y'all get gifted by being here at 7:30 tomorrow.
And I won't be there.
Congratulations.
Would you like me to go first here?
Go ahead, Dr. Ham.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to express my gratitude, first of all, to this board for allowing me to even serve as the superintendent. It's certainly been an honor and a privilege, and I have found great joy in working with you in that position. And I want to say a very, very sincere thank you for that, what it's done for me personally, but also to really congratulate you on your steadfast efforts to make sure that every single student in Richland School District 2 gets an absolutely quality education, and your dedication to public education. You're to be commended for that. And it's wonderful to work with a school board that has that kind of commitment that you have. So I want to thank all of you. I want to thank my colleagues, first of all, not only because they're the best of the best, and I know they are the best of the best, but truly they have created a culture here in Richland School District 2 where it is an absolute pleasure to serve. They are the joy in the journey, and I say thank you. And again, you are the best of the best. Fabulous. And I know because they're the best of the best that working with Dr. Davis, the best is yet to come, and that in fact this will be the premier district, period.
Period.
And then I also want to thank our community. It has been incredibly supportive. Certainly all of us appreciate that. There is no way that a school district and its personnel can do it alone, and we have had a community that's been a great partner to us, so that is just wonderful. So I wish everybody good luck as I'm gone. I will miss you terribly, but I know that the school district is in great hands, and as I said, the best is yet to come. Congratulations on your great work, and thank you, thank you, thank you. You have my everlasting gratitude. You've been a wonderful family, and I cannot think of a better place to have spent my career. Thank you.
Well, I'll make my comments brief, Dr. Ham, but I just, on behalf of the board and the community, again, I want to thank you for what you've done. You came in a tumultuous time, and you, three little letters, joy, has been the cornerstone of your time with us, and you have righted the ship and gotten it in a great direction, back on the right track again. As I talked to somebody today, and they said, you know, y'all have a great formula for superintendents. You promote from within, folks who understand the culture. And they say, you know, Coca-Cola tried to change their formula once, and it didn't work out, and y'all shouldn't change yours either. But I do want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I mentioned this before, but when you first came on as superintendent, every meeting for like the first 3 months, you got a standing ovation for the work that you've done. And so I don't want to be long-winded. And I know we just gave you a standing ovation, but I'd like to just give you one more standing ovation. The way you came in is the way you should go out.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, I'll have a motion to adjourn. So moved by Ms. Mackey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Caution Parker. Y'all have a great evening. Thank you.